Hey guys, Brazzle the Gamer. I've got a lot of games here. I have no idea what to review next.
How about Shovel Knight?
Oh! Hey Pluto! That's a great idea. Did you like Shovel Knight?
Hell yeah! I'm a sucker for a good retro platformer. Can I review it with you?
Sure, glad to have you on board.
Alright, let's get shoveling!
When I first saw a trailer for Shovel Knight, I was incredibly excited. This was a new side-scrolling 2D action platformer in the style of older NES or SNES games. I waited for ages to finally download it, because I wanted to get a version I'd be able to record later. I finally downloaded it on the Wii U and I was very impressed. The game looks and plays fantastic. The challenge ramps up at a perfect pace throughout the game.
It plays like a Voltron combination of some of the all-time classics of the NES with a little bit of Dark Souls mixed in. It actually reminds me a bit of the song Uptown Funk. It's so gloriously retro that it wouldn't feel at all out of place if you dropped it in the middle of the era it homages so lovingly.
The story isn't anything too compelling, but there is a bit of a cool twist at the end. Shovel Knight and Shield Knight are two adventurers who fight in the name of justice. Shovel Justice.
I actually found the story to be surprisingly enjoyable. Characters have clear histories with each other, and it all feels appropriately adventurous. It's not a mind-blowing narrative or anything, but way better than needed to exist for a straightforward action platformer.
They travel to the Tower of Fate, and Shield Knight is lost. Shovel Knight is distraught and lives a life of solitude for a time before he decides to try and find Shield Knight again. He must fight through the 8 members of the Order of No Quarter, led by the Enchantress, to get to his goal. I won't spoil the twist at the end for any of you who still haven't played the game.
On top of the main characters, there's a bunch of mildly amusing NPCs in the hub towns, as well as some side bosses to encounter on your journey. My favorite was the Truple Acolyte, who sings the praises of the great Truple Fish.
Shovel Knight plays a lot like Capcom NES platformers, particularly Mega Man, with a little DuckTales mixed in. Shovel Knight is a blue knight who has to fight 8 other knights, who each have their own specialty. While you can't select which to face from all 8 knights at the beginning like a Mega Man game, you have an overworld and you get to make several choices on which levels to complete before others.
There's also a light influence from some other games. The overworld is in the style of Super Mario Bros. 3, the hub towns are very Zelda 2, you can even find chicken hidden in the walls a la Castlevania.
The overworld also has some extra bonus levels and random encounters to take on. There is a ton to explore, do, and see. As far as control goes, Shovel Knight controls perfectly, and it's very easy to get used to it. You can swipe your shovel to attack to your sides. Later upgrades give you the ability to charge your swing and even shoot a blast of energy across the ground. Shovel Knight also is able to use his shovel as a pogo stick on enemies and certain environmental objects. This lets you easily kill things from above and even get a jump boost to find your way to secret areas. Speaking of secret areas, there are a ton. You will find treasure, special items, and even sheets of music you can deliver to a bard in the village for a reward. Treasure is everywhere. It's dropped by enemies, found in dirt blocks and dirt piles, in treasure chests, and just floating in the air above you. You collect gems and diamonds to purchase upgrades to your weapon, your armor, your health, and your mana.
Shovel Knight doesn't have a live system. Instead, when you die, you lose some of your hard-earned treasure, which stays where you died, and you get knocked back at checkpoint. If you can make it back to the floating treasure bags without dying, you can reclaim your lost adventuring wages. A neat addition was the ability to destroy checkpoints for some gold, a very organic way of adjusting the game's difficulty.
The level design is amazing. Enemy and obstacle placement gets increasingly difficult throughout the game. It does a fantastic job of teaching you how to play the game, much like the older Mega Man games did on the NES. For instance, in the first level, you have to use your shovel pogo jump to bounce off a bubble to reach the next higher platform. If you miss your jump, you fall harmlessly to lower ground. Later on, the platforming gets much harder and the bubbles are a bit more challenging to hop on.
Also, much like Mega Man games, each level adds their own wrinkle to the platforming. The ice stage, of course, features ice, but also snow blocks that need to be knocked down on top of spikes. Mole Knight's stage introduces dirt blocks that your shovel rips right through instead of bouncing off of, forcing you to be more careful about pogoing everywhere.
The Knights of the Order of No Quarter are all pretty easy to defeat for the most part. Each has a predictable pattern, much like Robot Masters in the Mega Man universe. The fights are incredibly fun, each have their own method of attack. I really like how the night battles use remixed stage music, giving each boss battle its own flavor.
There's also some neat optional levels that require the use of some of the items you pick up on your journey. Just because Shovel Knight borrows from other games doesn't mean they were short on original ideas.
The graphics are supposed to represent a natural progression in the technology of the NES. Other than a few colors, most of the colors were created from the NES palette. Enemy sprites were also limited on screen to represent what the NES could have been capable of. The developers did this to maintain a sense of nostalgia for games of older days, and they did a fantastic job.
It's sort of the visual representation of how you remember classic games being.
The developers did not let the amount of memory their creativity. So, there are many more sprites and background graphics than an NES cart would be able to hold. The character animations are incredibly animated and are supremely entertaining to watch.
I especially love the little shimmy Shovel Knight does while digging through a chest.
Using pixels for graphics actually seemed to help gameplay by creating a pixel-perfect approach to platforming. Overall, the game looks fantastic. The music is very good. The team used a Konami sound chip used on late Famicom games to make the music authentically 8-bit. As a result, it sounds great and could easily be something you would have heard on an NES game back in the early 90s. Most of the music is incredibly memorable, and I've even noticed caught in my head at times. The sound effects are good. I love the sound for picking up a new item or a sheet of music from the treasure chests.
And you can use those sheets to listen to the music played from a street musician in the first town, if you're so inclined.
As far as throwback games go, this one is fantastic. If you love retro games from the late 80s and early 90s, check this game out. If you love great platformers and you like a good bit of challenge, check this game out. Honestly, if you aren't a retro gamer, you should probably still check this game out.
It really is a great combination of old school sensibilities with modern amenities and challenge.
Thanks, Pluto, for reviewing the game with me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hopefully we can work together again in the future.
Now that you mention it, I did just run into a manga based on Midway. I gotta go.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. You can subscribe to my channel or check out Pluto's channel as well. I'll throw a link in the description. That's really all I got. Try to play Shovel Knight if you haven't had a chance to already. And for those of you PlayStation players, you'll get to play it very soon in the future. Thanks for watching. Later.